So we're going to look at the end-to-end job search process today. As we are looking at it, there are a couple of things that I want all of us to keep in mind that really make this work. The first is community. It is really ridiculous that most of us as job searchers have to go through this process alone, especially considering that companies get to go through it together. And also, throughout our whole life, throughout all of school and just about everything that we do, we have a community around us. But job search is actually one of the most difficult pieces of our career, and a lot of us go through it isolated, and that makes it even harder. So we're here to change that. That's why we're meeting today. That's why we meet once a week in Job Search Bootcamp, so we can do it together. The second piece is process. Most of us wake up one day and we need a job and we're not sure where to start. So maybe we brush up our resume. Maybe we spend hours on Indeed or LinkedIn applying to jobs, but that's not the most effective way to do it. So we're going to talk about the most effective way to do it and how we work together to do it together, and also achieving results. Our process gives you deliverables every week so that you move closer to a goal and so that you can actually land a job in 10 weeks. And as you get to know us, you'll meet a lot of alumni throughout your program, but a few that I love to just share. Joan had joined us, and it was really an interesting one for our community, because let me actually just pull up her profile on LinkedIn and show you this. Joan had actually been searching for a job on her own for over 2 years. And then she joined us, and in 10 weeks, she became the senior AI product manager at Heyday. And one of the reasons why we like to do this together is to make sure that, whatever discrimination comes into play against us as women or people of color or whatever it might be, that we don't completely get screened out. And we're here to work together on that. So yeah, you can see that, when she joined us, she got her new job in September, but she'd actually been looking since October of 2019. And that's why we're all here. It's the reason why I started this company. People who have skills that are in the highest demand. I mean, it is really, really hard to hire for a senior product manager, much less a product manager with artificial intelligence experience. So the fact that we're going unseen in the workforce, it just doesn't work for me. And that's why we're kind of all here together to talk about what we can do to overcome that in our own careers, for ourselves, and then as a community. So we're about to jump into the job search process. What did Joan do? What are we doing every week when we meet? So I want to make sure everyone can see my screen. The job search process, distilled down to its simplest form, is actually this right here. We conduct a networking call so that we can get a referral, so that we can get a phone screen, which is the first step in the interview process. Then we get to our interviews, our late stage interviews, and our offers. But the key here is that your process actually starts by going out and networking. So now we're looking at the process, we're like, oh my gosh, well, I don't have a networking call scheduled. What would I do? How would I get a networking call? That's another fun part that we do together. We have quite a few different tactics that we work on during boot camp to schedule networking calls. And we also learn the art of how to conduct a networking call so that it does lead to a referral. But first, let's just get them scheduled. We will write and post networking blurbs. These are little tidbits about us that we can put on LinkedIn, Slack, Facebook groups, wherever people in our industry might be. And it is working really, really well for our community. A lot of people have gotten their job just by posting that and starting a conversation. We also reach out to leaders, recruiters, and employees. I know that sometimes that feels intimidating, but we're actually getting a 1 out of 5 response rate regularly across bootcamp when we practice these tactics and use proven templates. The other thing I want all of you to remember, leaders who are hiring especially want to talk to you. So we get pretty tactical about this. We get into some serious best practices. If you're going to reach out to a leader, I'm actually going to say, okay, you should reach out to 5 because we're expecting you're going to get 1 response out of 5 a week. But also be a little tactical about it. Go in and put hiring and look at the leaders who come up, right? Okay, great. Head of people, hiring at All Trails. I'm going to go check out their lists, see what their open roles are like, and then I'm going to reach out. Anyone who says hiring on their LinkedIn profile, it is a direct invitation to reach out. And the same with recruiters. Recruiters, their whole job is hiring. So by reaching out to them, you're actually doing their job for them. Please also remember that these people, leaders and recruiters, are spending a lot of time and money on the hiring process. They're actually spending a lot of time and money just to find you. So when you make it easier, you actually give yourself an advantage, right? And then let's talk about employees, this third group that we're going to reach out to. Employees are actually incentivized to refer us, right? If you've had a job, you may have noticed that recruiters at your company, leaders will often ask for referrals. They actively want you to engage in the hiring process. In fact, at some companies, they will even offer a referral bonus if someone that you refer gets hired. That is how badly they want you to refer people to their company. The challenge for us when we're an employee at a workplace, we've been there for a year. We've already referred all our friends. We don't have anybody else. You know, all the like 10, 20 people that I've worked with that I know, I'm like, who would I refer? Go and make their job easier for them. Also, when you reach out to them, look at it as an opportunity to make them feel good about themselves, right? It's kind of going and saying like, hey, Emily, I saw that you had a band and you promoted it with all of your own social media tactics. Like, that's awesome. I'd love to talk to you about social media. And Emily might just be this person, who knows, maybe she's having a bad day. Maybe nobody's complimented her work in a while, but all of a sudden you're empowering yourself, but you're also empowering that person that you reached out to just like have a better day and feel seen in the talent market. So many of us just go through our jobs and we really don't get the recognition that we deserve, right? I'm sure we could all tell a story about like, I really should have gotten a raise when, or this thing that I did to save the project that nobody even realizes. You can be the person that goes and makes all of us feel seen and heard. So we talked about so much about community because it's kind of community on all levels, right? All of us who are building Lessons Up, we're building it because we want to see more women and people of color in these lucrative roles. And we want to make sure that you're out there getting the opportunities that you deserve and uplifting more women and minorities while you do it, right? So we're going to talk about how to reach out to these three groups. But remember, overcome that imposter syndrome, that vulnerability. They actually want to hear from you. We're also going to take advantage of our current networks. So many people in boot camp wind up getting introductions, reaching out to past colleagues. Jesse Moreno, who recently went through boot camp, he was a really interesting one because he came to us and he said, hey, I'm a leader in a collapsed industry. Nobody's talked to me for a year. He's like, what do I do? I've been in retail. Retail totally collapsed during the pandemic. He was just hitting a dead end in his job search. In 10 weeks, he pivoted from retail operations, guys, at like stores like Tom's, like the shoes that we wear, to a health tech company. He's now at Vault Health. He did that in 10 weeks, but actually his didn't come through as a networking blurb. It came through reaching out to people in his network. And he told us that like, wow, once I got the tools and talked to all of you and saw what you were doing, I was pumped up. I was brave enough to go and reach out to people that I had worked with like 10 years ago. And he was shocked to find out that they were excited to talk to him, right? So we love to celebrate those as we go through, but reach out to your network and we'll talk to you about how to do that the best way, right? All of this stuff that we're talking about comes with a whole list of guides, tools, and templates so that you're not just out there winging it. You're starting with, oh, hey, this worked for Jesse, so I'm going to do it. Oh, hey, this worked for Michaela, so I'm going to do it this way. We want to give you a good foundation to go from. And then we learn with you as we go. All of the practices that we work on together, we learn from each other as we go. That's one of the really most powerful things about doing this as a cohort. We meet once a week and we say, okay, did you post your networking blurb? Did you have a phone screen? How did it go? What worked for you? What questions did they ask? That kind of thing. So we do all of this together as a community. And then the other piece to boot camp is that once a month, we actually go and we meet face-to-face directly with leaders at top companies. So at our last hiring mixer, we had directors from DoorDash, Amazon, we had a director from UNICEF now at Empatico, who knows the nonprofit world, people just from all over the industry. Usually we like to find people who, leaders who reflect kind of who's in our job search bootcamp cohorts, make sure you get access to leaders who can really help you. And then they go and refer to you to open roles. It's so much fun for me to see this. And Valencia in our cohort told me that I could share this, but Ryan she just scheduled a coffee chat with Ryan from Empatico. He was at our hiring mixer last week, and he is a director in nonprofits, and now she gets to go and get his support to build her career. So we love celebrating things like that, and it's community on all levels. I know that I just shared a ton of stuff. For a lot of you, this might be a brand new process, thinking, I didn't even know there was a process. So one more time, this is the process. You're going to conduct networking calls. Those networking calls are going to lead to referrals. Those referrals are going to lead to the very first step in the interview process, a phone screen. We like to differentiate phone screen from interviews and late stage interviews because we actually have tactics to help you ace each stage and stand out from other candidates through each stage, but mostly to build relationships, right? We go through this and then we get to the offer. It looks like the offer comes at the end, but we are actually practicing and learning negotiation skills all the way through this process. Our biggest negotiation skill is leading with the relationship that we want to build. We will always talk about the other person first. We'll reflect back what's important to them, and then we will tie it to our key results, to the big things that we have achieved. And as we do this throughout the entire process, we will get to the point where people are sharing their numbers. Salary conversations are so much easier, and you're coming to your cohort meetings and you're hearing about people getting, Janola Johnson, this was just fantastic. She negotiated $15K above the initial offer amount. And she was also one of those that got her job in 10 weeks, and she is not showing up right now because my screen share and Zoom and all the tabs are taking up my internet, but wanted to just share that with you because I love celebrating the successes of all of the awesome women along the way. Okay, so now I really have shared a lot of stuff. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we're just going to kind of come back and see if there are any questions that people have right now that have popped up, maybe challenges in your own job search. And if you can't join us because you're at work, you can throw a question into the chat. And then also, Angie, I know that you're in boot camp, so you haven't gotten the refresher, just the whole overview. Anything new jumping out to you now that you're a little bit in the process?
I don't know about new, but I guess, what I realized, I didn't know that this was a refresher. And what I'm realizing is how much your energy and the support and the community, like, I'm just happy to be here because I feel like the support around a systematic strategy, and then like you and the team and the community, it's so different than being all by myself, and like how sad and depressing, like now that I have that juxtaposed with what it could be, I'm like, anyway, so yeah.
Oh my gosh, no, that is so true. And in the spirit of community, a lot of people are here because Emily, who recently joined Lessons Up after going through boot camp, randomly decided to post about her experience at her last hiring mixer. Emily, I would love for you to introduce yourself, say hi, and give everyone an introduction to your amazing elevator pitch.
Oh, sure. Hi, everyone. I've been in growth and marketing for 10 years, starting with social media and live broadcast event production, creating cooking shows, craft shows, and fashion shows for Sears, Kenmore, and Craftsman. After that, I took my marketing know-how on the road, booking 22 months of national touring for my indie pop band and creating paid and organic social campaigns that increased our show attendance and sales by 30%. Currently, I'm new to San Francisco and looking to have conversations around diversity-minded hiring solutions. Hey, everybody. But yeah, I've been a part of Job Search Bootcamp because I went through the bootcamp had an amazing experience, got a lot of offers, and realized I wanted to stay with Lessons Up. Because I know, yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's an important mission. The community is amazing, and there's such a huge need. So we have a lot of room to grow.
Oh my gosh, Emily, amazing that you just kind of stepped up, and also Angie as well, you know, in a new group of people to just be vulnerable like that. And I can just brag about both of you and what you're doing for the community despite being here and being present. So super appreciate it. And just everyone knows that elevator pitch that Emily did is something that over the course of 10 weeks, she did it in small groups, in pairs, and breakout rooms during boot camp. And that's how it got to be just so overwhelmingly impressive that she wound up getting 3 offers in 10 weeks, which is just awesome to celebrate. So yeah, we've shared a lot of stuff, lots of new process things. I want to go in and take a look at what you'd actually expect in boot camp. But that said, if you have a question that's come up, please do drop it in the chat, or feel free to join us with your camera and mic if you'd like. But so we've talked about this job search boot camp thing. So Angie and Emily both went through this amazing program that we all do together. And when we get there, we meet once a week, and every week we master a new piece of the job search process. So we start with some career direction stuff, resumes, LinkedIn profiles. We review the networking process. We join some communities. We write our networking blurb. We get an introduction to some templates, really work on how to conduct a networking call that leads to referrals. Then we get into interviewing, what not to say in an interview. We'll go into how to ace those phone screens. We'll get into cover letters. You'll get some templates and best practices. And we get into telling stories during interviews, which is really exciting because all of the work that you did up here on career direction and resumes and just identifying your key results is the key to telling stories during interviews. So if you happen to have an interview in the next week, anytime there is an interview question, you should always answer it with a key result. And you want to answer the question first with your key result, then go into whatever interview story you have prepared. And you can see Angie taking notes because we haven't gotten to week 4 yet. So you're getting a little bit of a preview, which I love. But wanted all of you to know that in case you happen to have an interview coming up. And if you do have an interview coming up, please drop it in the chat. We work on prepping our interview stories together. We do exercises like defending a job description to get us ready for those interviews. We get into late stage interview prep, which is really about understanding who we're interviewing with. We actually, just as much as we might think about those questions and stories that we're going to tell, to say, who am I talking to? What does that working relationship look like? So that we can go into the interview and become the person who is actively doing the job with that interviewer versus just applying to the job. And of course, we practice how to do that. Lots of practice, more networking tactics. Then we start to get into the compensation piece. Not only do we talk about compensation and how to conduct a great negotiation throughout the process, but we also just kind of talk about that. How do we overcome the asking for money piece? And one thing that I will share in case anyone has a negotiation call coming up is that anytime you ask for a salary that you are worth, you are also making sure that other women, other underrepresented people out there are set up to ask for the salary that you're worth. If one of us lowers the bar, we're lowering it for all of us. So we are all going to work together. We're going to talk about this behind the scenes. We're going to know our value. We're going to go in and we're going to ask for it. It's just something to keep in mind right now. And then we kind of go through our process, get into those late stage interviews, following up, and then we get to the end and we're starting to celebrate those job offers. And we really, at that point, kind of discuss the power of relationship building and doing all of this stuff with community. So yeah, that's kind of like our big theme towards the end of the program, even though we do it together throughout. So that's the program. That's kind of what you expect over the course of 10 weeks when you join us to accelerate your career. I also like to say that a lot of people join and within 10 weeks, maybe instead of getting a new job, they get a promotion, they negotiate a raise. Some people have gone through boot camp and even said, hey, wow, I'm going to start a business now that I understand my value. So it's really, really exciting to see whatever the transformation is. And I say the best thing about Job Search Bootcamp is you just get to understand how valuable you are on the job market through this networking process, through working together with your cohort and meeting with these awesome leaders once a month. Any questions about Job Search Bootcamp or the job search process? Okay, great. Then Emily, you at this point know more about the next cohort details than I do. Yeah, I believe we're kicking off our next cohort December. Okay, I'll give it to you.
Yeah. I just want to say one thing. We serve so many tech industry professionals in Job Search Bootcamp, of which I don't have that background, and the strategies work so well, even for someone like me, that I'm still getting interview requests, Melinda, in my inbox. And I'm so busy with us, I don't have time to respond to all of them nicely, but it works really well. That's all. The next cohort of Job Search Bootcamp starts December 2nd, and it will run for 10 weeks so that you can kick off 2022 with new job offers, a new really confident career direction, and a new community that will help you advance your career and grow your professional network for life. So it's so easy for me to talk about the program because it works so well for me. So it starts December 2nd, and that's a Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific, which is 8 p.m. Eastern time. And yeah, and I think there's some special things people get if they sign up as soon as now.
Oh yeah, so because we have a couple weeks before boot camp, if you join now, you'll be able to join our next session on live resume review so that you can get a little bit of a head start on your resume before boot camp begins. Angie, have you joined one of the resume review sessions yet?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
and yeah,
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like you did say, was there anything new? And I couldn't, but because I have done tons of like resume rewriting, like been around the block and done this, but every single time, including today, like you saw me taking notes, I'm like, oh my gosh, here's another little tidbit. Here's how I could make this better. And even the, it's like, I thought that I knew like elevator pitch or about myself, but the requirement of like practice this, write this, say this, first of all, is like the clarity there that I'm getting like every single week or every day thinking about it, but the confidence, because I realize like that's just a huge part of it. The practice giving me the confidence of just being able to, like how I present myself, how I engage. Anyway, I just wanted to share that. So thanks.
Oh my God, you know what? That is amazing to hear because you've always shown up with such confidence and,
Thank you. But you know how feeling or this process can really have the negative voice and like the insecurity going in the background, and like being with you and the support in this practice is like, like, oh no, that's okay. I don't need to listen to that. It really tamps it down. And I'm like, oh, I can like this, it doesn't feel as imposter-y. I'm like, oh, now I can actually show up more authentically. And every time I say this, and every time I'm with the group, and every time I practice, like I feel like the authentic me is just coming out more and more. So,
oh my gosh.
Anyway, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So good to hear. And it looks like, okay. Yeah, so logistic questions. We meet once a week. It is $197 a month, but we did just kick off a weekly. If you want to pay, it's $47 a week, right? And then you just pay that over the course of like 13 weeks instead of $197 a month, which, apologies, Angie, I don't think we had that available when you had joined. We just keep learning more and more. But yeah, so you can pay on a weekly basis for your program. And yeah, we meet for an hour every week and we get it done. Any other questions? Yeah, looking at the, oh, okay, can we join on weekly? Okay, how many? Oh, in a cohort, it's about 15 to 20 people per cohort. we keep it small enough so that we can really get a lot out of it, but big enough so that we all get to network with each other and get the benefit of referrals. And yeah, actually, Angie, I know we're only in week 3 for your cohort, but have you had a networking call with anyone in the cohort or in past cohorts yet?
Yes, that's another thing, like everybody, multiple people in the cohort connected with other people, been practicing together, co-working together.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's so good to see. In here, I mean, sometimes we don't know what's going on behind the scenes as everyone gets together. All I know is that so many people by the end of the program, they wind up being best friends, and it's just amazing that that happens. Okay, well, this has been just fantastic. And Angie, I'm so glad that you're able to join us. And Ian, Nikita, Alina, and Sami, just appreciate you showing up to think about your career today. Excited to see you at our upcoming sessions. I know we're all in the middle of a busy day, and we try to keep these to 30 minutes so that we can respect everyone's time, but please do feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And yeah, Emily, anything in closing that you wanted to add?
Nope, it's nice to meet new job searchers. We're all ambitious career advancers. I want us to all get the jobs, roles, and valuable offers that we deserve. And if Lessons Up can help you do that in Job Search Bootcamp, it would be so much fun to see you all there.
Amazing. All right. Have a great day, everyone.